Right, so for Inside Out today, let me tell you how the school feeding program started. In 2005, the then erstwhile John Agyekum Kufuor government introduced the Ghana school feeding program. Now, the aim of this program had immediate objectives of increasing school enrollment, attendance and student retention, and also to reduce short-term hunger and malnutrition amongst kindergarten and primary school children in public schools who were to benefit from one meal daily. The school feeding program was initially piloted in a total of 100 schools. 10 schools from each of the then 10 regions in Ghana in 2005 and ended in 2006, benefiting 64,775 pupils. In 2007, the first phase of the program was rolled out over a 4-year period between 2007 to 2010, which benefited 713,590 pupils. The number of beneficiaries increased from 713,590 pupils in 2010 to 1.7 million pupils in 2014. Now, at the end of 2016-2017 academic year, the number of pupils enrolled onto the school feeding program reached 1.7 million, and by the year 2022, the program covered over 12,000 public basic schools with an enrollment figure of about 4 million. But we all know, you know, and I know the controversies that has characterized the school feeding program, right? Caterers going on strike over unpaid arrears, allegations of malnourished food being served to the pupils, and even in 2018, there was a publication by the Daily Graphic that 2.5 million overpayment had been done to some caterers across the country somewhere in 2017. And so, the Auditor General decided to embark on a special audit on the management of the Ghana school feeding program between 2017 and 2022. And the findings is a conversation that we're going to have this morning. The Auditor General's report basically has revealed that the school feeding caterers feed pupils substandard meals. Look at the food on your screens. Now, simply put, the meals do not meet the adequate levels of quantity and quality. In terms of quantity of meals provided by the caterers, the Auditor General found caterers in 167 out of the 245 schools in the region sampled did not provide adequate quantity of meals for the pupils. For instance, 38 out of 49 schools in the Ashanti region and 12 out of 22 schools in the Western region did not provide adequate quantity of meals for the pupils. An example is the Efidrase Presby Basic A School in the Eastern region and Bawe Gonse MA School in the Greater Accra region, where the caterer did not prepare and serve adequate meals. Therefore, an entire class of pupils were not fed. That's not it. Another bizarre occurrence per the AG's report is from a November 2019 monitoring report on basic schools in the New Drubbing North Municipality in the Eastern region. A caterer for the Asokore Methodist Basic B School did not prepare and serve adequate soup with banku. Therefore, some of the pupils were served banku without soup. Can you imagine? Students were given banku without soup. To eat with what? Saliva or what? But that's not all. When it comes to the quality, the report is equally damning. There were complaints of food either lack or had inadequate protein, foreign materials in the meals, bad palm oil served with watery beans, and general bad smell and taste of food. And this is not the first time that we are complaining about the kind of meals that are served the pupils in this under the school feeding program. Some of you see it. Some of the soup look like you can see a reflection of your face in it. Now, according to the Auditor General, the caterers have attributed their inability to provide adequate and nutritious meals for the pupils to inadequate feeding fee and delays in payments for catering services. As it stands, each student is supposed to get 1 cedis 20 pesos per the school feeding program. And you ask yourself, what can 1 Ghana cedis 20 pesos buy for you as a meal? That is something that I want you to ponder over, because government appears to have money for everything aside making sure that these people get quality, nutritious food. How are you assigning 1 Ghana cedi 20 pesos to pupils to feed? What food do you expect them to eat? Why won't they give them banku without soup? Well, the question is, how much does government allocate as feeding grant per pupil? When the program, after its pilot rolled out in 2017, do you know how much the grant was? It was 30 pesos per pupil. By 2016, the cost per meal per pupil provided by government was 80 pesos. In 2018, government increased the 80 pesos to 1 Ghana cedis. But even with that, the catering contract and the payment files have a 3% withholding tax, and that is deducted from the approved 1 Ghana cedi feeding fee, leaving a net amount of 97 pesos as a real feeding fee. Now, according to the African Union biannual report on the homegrown school feeding program, the average cost for providing a meal for a child is $52 per year, which translates into 25 cents per meal per day. The Auditor General, therefore, using an average exchange rate of 6 cedi 40 pesos to $1 in 2022, says it expected the Secretariat to provide a feeding fee of 1 cedi 60 pesos per child per school day. That is in 2022. The audit report also discloses minutes of meetings between the sector ministry, which is the Gender, Children and Social Protection Ministry, development partners and other stakeholders on 27 June 2019, which indicated the need to increase the school feeding fee per child from 1 Ghana cedis to 1 cedi 50 pesos. This was in 2019. An indication and general consensus that the feeding fee was inadequate. Now, later in 2022, the former Finance Minister, Ken Ofori-Atta, disclosed that while presenting the budget in Parliament, government's decision in 2023 was to increase the feeding grant to reflect the current cost of living. Remember that strike action in 2023 by the caterers demanding the fee to be increased to 3 Ghana cedis? Well, it didn't happen. In June 2023, the then Gender Minister announced an increment in the fee from 1 Ghana cedi to 1 cedi 20 pesos per pupil. But the 3% withholding tax means that the caterers got 1 cedi 16 pesos per pupil as feeding fee in 2023. Now, about 2 weeks ago, the ministry said it would, for the second term, be paying 1 cedi 50 pesos to the caterers per pupil. Now, interestingly, this is 5 years after there was a stakeholder consensus that the fee should be 1 cedi 50 pesos, when the prices of food items have more doubled in the period through inflation. Just imagine, think about it. In 2019, there was an agreement, a consensus, that we increase the school feeding grant to 1 cedi 50 pesos. But guess what? That was what was agreed on in the 2023 budget that was presented by the then Finance Minister. If you also decide to work with the 25 cents per child average cost consensus on the Africa continent, using the current dollar rates of 15 Ghana cedis to $1, that means the actual cost for a proper meal is about 4 Ghana cedis per child. I am sure that we'll be able to manage 4 cedis per child. That should give us some decent meals for the pupils. We have had groups like the Pediatric Society of Ghana and a number of NGOs push for an increase in the allocation, as the pupils are likely to be malnourished. With these findings from the Auditor General, will government now accept the reality that we keep drumming home, that has always been trumpeted about substandard food being served to primary and KG pupils? I'm sure that you have seen the videos. This won't be the only video that you have seen. You have seen many complaints, many videos of soups, of rice, of whatever that are served to these pupils, and there are many incessant complaints. And we need to hear from government, because what are really the challenges in providing increased feeding to ensure that our future leaders are well fed and the targets for the school feeding program are actually met? If feeding children will end up giving them diseases, then we really might as well not feed them at all. Because what is the point? These are the questions that we need answers to. And the Ministry of Gender and government must be speaking. And they should be speaking now. Now, even more shocking is, despite the issues of terrible food the caterers are feeding the pupils, the School Feeding Secretariat, per the Auditor General's report, paid the caterers over 2 million cedis for no work done, and another 275,000 cedis to caterers not even under the contracts. Think about it. Just think about it and know the kind of country that we are in. See the amount and the kind of food that we are serving KG and basic school students. Look at it. You can Google it and see the kind of foods that they are served. And tell me if you would be happy that your child is eating that kind of food. Tell me if those who have allocated that amount of money as feeding grant per pupil will allocate that amount of money to their children. These are children belonging to privileged men in society who have iPhones, who wake up in the morning and they're eating pizzas, they're eating salads, and look at what children are being fed with. 1 Ghana cedis, 50 pesos. What can it buy for you? Imagine that you're giving a child even wache. How much is wache? How much is banku? How much is rice water or Tom Brown? 1 Ghana cedis, a little over 1 Ghana cedis. That's what is being given the basic students and the KG pupils. And I want you to think about it. And I really hope that government answers these questions on our minds. What really is the challenge? Do they hate these students so much to give them that kind of food? You can't tell me that that's all that we can do. It's not possible, because we have clearly shown that we have money for other things, very useless, but we do have money. And so if we have money, that isn't what we should be giving to the children. That will be it for Inside Out.